All right, everybody, we are super excited to be able to welcome the band Adelaide onto the show. We're going to be talking with their three members, Laura, Jake, and Eric. We got the vocalist, guitarist, and drummer on the phone, and they're in separate places. So we're doing this all nice and high tech. We're getting everybody kind of wired in, and it's going to be fun. But welcome to the show, guys.
And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. So real quick, Laura, you'd probably be the best one to speak to this. Give us just kind of some quick backstory on the band and kind of where you guys came from.
Well, the guys actually been playing together for a long time. I'm the newest of the band. So
Okay, all right.
we released the album Bigger Picture in 2015. They were kind of like, I actually met Jake through the studio that I used, Walker Brothers Studio in Bernie, Missouri.
Okay.
And he volunteered to lend his band for our album release concert. And we've been playing together ever since. It was kind of like hey, we're Adelaide now, so.
There you go. That's cool. So now where exactly did the name come from?
Oh my goodness. When people ask me that, I think Jake laughs. He thinks it's funny because it's kind of a long story. But Adelaide means of noble character.
Okay.
And we did not know it was a city in Australia when we chose the name. And so we have a lot of people asking us if we're from Australia. And no, we are not from Australia. Actually, I've never even been to Australia. That would be nice.
Well, and plus, if you're from Missouri, that's kind of like the polar opposite of Australia.
Exactly. Yes.
Oh, man. Well, that's interesting. Okay, cool. And it's funny because I was looking back through kind of what I thought was going to be the kind of discography of Adelaide on iTunes. And there's some other bands that are definitely not you.
Yeah, a little bit of screamo out there.
Yeah, some very kind of stuff.
Maybe named Adelaide. Yeah, I'm not sure, but
yeah. Well, that's all right. That's all right. You're the ones that I care about, so that's a good thing. Now, has anyone ever showed up at your concert thinking you were one of the other ones?
No.
Okay.
No. We've had a couple of people like us on Facebook. Actually, before we were Adelaide, I was going by my name, Laura Kelly.
Okay.
And what's funny is there's a Laura Kelly in Australia. Is she in Australia? I have to ask my husband. Oh, she's in the UK.
Oh, okay.
And so we were getting a lot of followers from her fans, and she was getting a lot of my fans. And I even had friends basically saying, "Are you playing in the UK next weekend?" Because there was like a bands in town thing that she was signed up. I was like, "No, I don't know who's starting these rumors, but it's not me." So that's another reason that I chose a stage name, is because the stage name, I don't know if you're familiar with, like Plum is Tiffany Arbuckle.
Right.
So Plum is like one of the few Christian solo artists that has a stage name. So that was kind of the thinking going into it, but it's evolved into a band name. So it's pretty cool. It works for both.
I gotcha. And Jake and Eric, she had mentioned that you guys had played together for a while before she got involved. What were you guys doing before?
Eric is actually my biological father.
Oh my gosh. Oh man. That's awkward.
Well, that was a weird derailment there.
I don't even know how to answer that now.
So Eric and I met when I was 16, and Eric, you were 18 or 19, correct?
Yep.
So it was at a church camp. Eric's band was the worship band. There was one night when I had a band that we played a concert, and that's when me and Eric really met. And fast forward a couple years, we started playing in a different band together, and then we played in like 5 other bands together, and now we're here in Adelaide.
Okay, cool.
That's right.
All right. Well, that was definitely a long story short. I like that. Very good. Very good. Well,
and no, for anyone who's wondering, Eric is not Jake's biological father.
Thank you, Laura.
Well,
That's
giving the ages kind of cleared that up.
Yeah. I was about to say that's news to me.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Gee whiz. Oh, sheesh. So now you guys have been kind of busy this year. Been doing a pretty good bit of touring. How do you feel like that's been going?
Oh, it's been awesome. I think God's really been blessing us with opportunities to meet people and share the music that is being created. And it's just awesome seeing people respond to it, and even just talking to people and meeting other bands. I mean, I'm enjoying it. Every second of it.
Cool.
Yeah, it's been a blast. Very busy season this year. Especially, I think the thing that adds to that busyness is also finishing up the record, too. Right. So it's been very interesting.
Cool. Well, since you brought it up, tell us how that's going. I mean, where are you guys in the process for the next Adelaide record?
We are at the final stages of the mixing process.
Okay.
And into the mastering as well. We'll actually get of the rest of the songs. Obviously, we have our first single. We completed that, so we would have something to release and start building hype. But we should have our first round of masters really at the end of this week. So we're getting really close.
Okay. Do you guys have a release date set yet, or are you guys waiting to have it in hand before you nail that down?
That's a good question. Okay. We got to go around on this and stuff like that. We were hoping to do kind of an official release in October, but it just isn't going to time out very well for us. So we're probably going to do the official release this next year, beginning of next year. Okay. But we'll still, we did a Kickstarter campaign to help out with the financing of the album. So those people who did the Kickstarter with us, they'll still be getting their album in October, the digital downloads in October and all that stuff. But just the official release of the album and kind of getting touring with it and stuff like that, an album release tour and all that stuff, will be probably looking at the first of next year.
Okay, fantastic. Awesome. Now, how do you guys feel about this one? I mean, how did the process differ this time from last time as far as getting the album recorded and all that fun stuff?
The recording was a little bit, I would say, together before we went into the studio, as far as, we had more of a idea of what the direction was going to be, because from the time that we first released the last album, The Bigger Picture, which was, I'd written all of the songs on piano. Mm-hmm. And so I've never collaborated with writing before until while we were in the process of releasing that album. Jake started sending me some music he'd been working on, and he's like, hey, see if you can throw some lyrics on this. And, after a couple of days, it's like I'm sending some back, and he's like, man, this is really cool. The next album's going to take a totally different direction because you've got a collaboration of two different styles that are kind of merging together and making something pretty cool, which Strong and Brave gives you a good sense of that direction, but it's not the whole picture of what it sounds like, because a lot of this, like, I don't know, it just gives me chills thinking about it, because we're so excited. Some of these songs, I mean, lyrically, they're very driven with the message in the songs. And I would say it's a little darker, but it's not dark per se, but this, it's challenging. All of our music is encouraging, but challenging, and does bring the message of hope. And obviously, all of our lyrics, it's so important for us that they point directly to Jesus Christ, and that, not just the music, but the way we handle ourselves as well. So that's, I think, where a lot of this comes into play, why we want to release it at the right time, to make sure that, we've got it, nailed down tight, and what we're doing isn't sloppy, but it's very purposeful and meaningful.
Okay, nice. What about as far as the time in the studio? Did you guys feel like that was a unique experience because things were different in that way?
Yeah, I wasn't in the studio at the same time as Eric was playing drum tracks and stuff like this. We weren't necessarily, I'm telling you, studio stuff is so different than just show stuff, isn't it, right. Jake?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Jake has more of the inside picture of that, because he practically has been working there through this album. So
this has definitely been a really unique project, because we've done a few different things on the record at a few different studios and stuff for this one. So it's made it really cool. We recorded pretty well 90% of it. Well, not 90%, a good portion of all the music at the Walker Bros studio. And take guitarists, for instance. We recorded all those at the Walker Bros, and then we went over to Sick Tone studio. Producer is Jack Daniels. He plays the guitar for War of Ages.
Oh, okay.
And so we went there, and that's where we actually what's called a reamp. We did our reamping for our tones for guitars and stuff over there. And then we did some little bit of work in Nashville with Lester Estelle for drum work and stuff like that.
Okay. We've
kind of been all over in some ways and got to kind of collaborate with some really awesome people in producing this record. So it's been really cool in that sense.
Very cool. So do you think that being able to get kind of input from these different producers, do you think that was a big help in getting some different sounds?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Lester is definitely top notch when it comes to drums. His drum studio is amazing over there. And he just, he's been doing it for all his life with bands like Pillar and most recently Kelly Clarkson. And then Jack is one of the most ridiculous guitar players I've ever seen, and his studio is awesome. So it's been really cool getting to collaborate with some of the best in the business in those terms. So
fantastic. So with all of the touring that you guys have gotten to do this year, have you tested out, aside from Strong and Brave, have you gotten a chance to test out any of the new songs live yet?
There's a couple of them that we've been doing live for a while. There's 2 songs, and it's called Alive, and the other's called Pick Up the Pieces, which the guys wrote Pick Up the Pieces several years ago. And so we've made that one of our live,
in the second half this year
performances. But we've just added the newest one that we've added besides Strong and Brave is Deep Waters.
Okay.
So those are the 2 that we've done most recently is Strong and Brave and Deep Waters that we do live. So I'd say most of our shows are 50-50, old songs, new songs.
Okay, cool. Have the new ones seem like they're registering pretty well with audiences?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Sweet. Cool. I like to hear that. Awesome. Now, I know you guys still have some more live shows scheduled for the rest of the year, a few more already on the books. Which one do you think you're most excited about at this point?
Well, we do play a lot of D-Nows, which are, Disciple Now youth events.
Okay.
And we've got one of those coming up in a couple weeks. And then, so we'll be heading to Kentucky for that. But this coming weekend, the 21st, 22nd, we'll be on a trip heading to Indiana to open for New Song, which is pretty excited. I don't know. Eric is really good at singing Arise My Love. So it should be interesting to hear them kind of sing it together. Like,
with me on stage.
Right next to me singing it. And then...
I've already said that when they play that song, I'm going to run on stage and sing it with them. I mean, that's just,
all right.
Just a God calling, is what I'm saying.
You got to listen to the Spirit, my man. You got to listen to the Spirit.
Amen to that, brother.
Very cool. Very cool. Oh, dude, that's funny. Oh man. So aside from new music that's obviously kind of is definitely in the works, but probably will get released to the masses next year, although some Kickstarter people will probably get it in October. Aside from that, what else do you guys have brewing for the future that you're excited about?
Oh goodness. So even now Jake is sending new music for album number 3, I guess. So hey Jake, I haven't got to listen to that very last one just yet.
That's okay.
Okay, well I'm working on it. I'm getting there.
It's not as cool as the one before anyways.
It's not? Okay. We'll figure it out with it. No, but we're actually talking to Walker Bros about recording a music video for Strong and Brave. So I guess besides the album itself, that's kind of our next big project this year. So
Nice. Laura, I've got a question for you.
Sure.
What is more of a challenge? Is it more of a challenge to perform in front of a live audience, music that you've written and kind of take ownership with and being vulnerable in that way? Or is it more of a challenge to homeschool your children?
Well, this year I've got a little bit of a break in the homeschooling realm because 3 of our kids are in school now outside the home. So
Okay.
I've only got 1 at home this year, and he says he never wants to go to school outside the home. So I think he likes doing some of his subjects in his pajamas till a certain point. But I think juggling them at the same time is the most challenging because, when I was homeschooling all 4 of them, I mean, it's a full-time job, but I feel like when we're on the road, it is a full-time job with that as well, because, when we're not, it's okay. When can we squeeze in time for practices? Okay. When we're going to go to the studio, when are we going to record? When are we going to, work on social media stuff? Cause obviously I don't know if you follow us on social media, but sometimes I drop the ball on that. It's like, I don't really have time to do. So I think the biggest challenge comes from trying to balance them both than it would be to balance one or the other.
That makes sense. And I have a confession to make to you. I was homeschooled my entire time before I got to college. So yeah, I can appreciate
really
it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yes, very cool. Well, I tell you, our kids, there's a big difference because our girls are going to like private school this year, and there's some, there's always those kids that end up in private school as well.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry. I just looked out my window and there was either a shark or a dolphin swimming by. No, like seriously, there's a bunch of people on the beach and I can see. I'm sorry. I totally got distracted.
That's all right. That's life.
Here in the shadow end. Oh, there's some out there too. No, there it is. The dolphin. You see it, John?
Nice. Oh, I do. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I haven't seen them this close to the shore. I'm like freaking out right now.
That's all right. The rest of us are just jealous.
Oh, well, you shouldn't be, because this is the first family vacation we've taken in a long time. Sorry, what were we talking about?
Wow.
You were saying that that some kids do end up in private schools after being homeschooled.
Right. And there's always, you can still send your kids to private school, but the world's still going to get in,
Yeah.
So we've had to have a lot of talks with our girls, and they're just like, you would think 2 grades above the kids because of their maturity level,
Right.
Not to knock those who send their kids to like a public school or whatever, but I remember I was homeschooled in high school, and I would run into my friends at like the store or something. I'd be like, wow, did I used to talk and act like that? Like, it's just like I felt silly, and there's just something about, whenever you homeschool, it's just like, okay, a lot of people, there's a misconception to say that your kids are not socialized.
Right.
Because when you go to public school, you're only around your grade level and your teachers. Whereas with homeschool, you're always interacting with every age. You're with little kids, you're with your family, you're with adults. And so, that's a huge misconception, the lack of socialization. So.
Yeah. And also, of course, I think people also tend to overlook that there is more ways to make friends other than just at school, because despite the fact that I went to a tiny church that had like our youth group was like 4 people. So we didn't really have one. I mean, we didn't ever do anything together. I mean, it just was teeny tiny. But, I was in like 4-H, and I went to summer camps, and, I had a lot of friends. They were just scattered. I mean, they had these weird segmented groups because I had my 4-H friends, I had my other homeschool friends, and then I had my church camp friends. So,
oh, yeah. Right.
So, yeah. But yeah, I hear you. And it's always funny to me to admit to people who know me for a while that I was homeschooled, and they're like, but you're so normal. It's like, yes, I wasn't one of those homeschoolers.
Don't tell me you have social skills. I think you were lying.
Yeah. I heard music that wasn't just, chanting choirs and bluegrass, and, I saw movies that had a rating on them and all sorts of crazy stuff. It was weird. But anyway,
you just kind of interrupt. It's amazing. When my wife saw the Dolphins, she smacked me. I thought one of my kids was falling over the edge of the balcony out here or something. The way she ran and started running to the window, I was like, "What in the world's going on?" Thought I was going to dive off the 5th floor balcony to save a kid.
Well, you have to understand, like, we've been out here for the longest time. Well, we got here on Saturday, and we really started our trip on Sunday, but we went on a sunset, like, dolphin cruise yesterday, and didn't see hardly anything. We saw a couple, but we didn't see anything. So here we are just looking out our window. We're seeing dolphins, and there's people like actually swimming out there. But at first I thought it could be a shark. I don't know.
Yeah, that would have been a very different end to this conversation if that was a shark and there were people swimming out there.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's crazy.
We would have given play-by-play, so you might have had a viral show going on.
Right. That would have been crazy. I tell you. Sheesh. Well, there's always one question that I like to end with that'll be for each one of you guys. But before we get to that, is there anything else that you want people to know that they should know or that we didn't touch on that just needs to get out there?
I think we hit on all the new stuff that's coming out, but if they do want to follow us on social media, can I drop that?
Sure, absolutely. Please do.
Okay, so they can find us at AdelaideMusic.com, or if you check us out on Facebook, it's Facebook.com/Hey Adelaide, and we're at Hey Adelaide on Twitter and Instagram as well.
Okay, cool. Fantastic. I like that.
Sweet. Pretty new to Spotify, so if they're on Spotify, they can find us on Spotify. Obviously, iTunes and Pandora and all that stuff is where you can find our music.
Excellent. I like that. Cool. Yeah, check it out. They got good stuff. And of course, they got more new stuff coming in the not so distant future. So that'll be good as well. Well, the question that I like to ask every guest, which I always think is rather revealing, is from each one of you. And Les, I know technically you're not necessarily a player in the band, but if you want to answer this question too, you can. But if you want to opt out, you're the only one who has the option. So from each one of you, despite the fact that you're in a rock band, you guys tour, you play to crowds, all that good stuff, what is the most un-rock and roll thing about you?
I'm a homeschool mom.
Well, it's true. That's probably a good.
And that takes the cake.
I tell you what, none of us have like our hair dyed different colors or tattoos or crazy piercings. And that's kind of the stereotype with this. We've even had promoters say, like, not that we have something like we're anti tattoos and rock or whatever. But for me, that's just not who I am. So if I go to Walmart and I'm like got crazy hair and tattoos, that's who I am like maybe 10% of the time when we're on stage.
Right, yeah.
But the guys aren't really like that either. But that's what like promoters have told us. They're like, I don't know if she's going to make it because of the way that she carries, like she doesn't look like a rocker. So that her image is going to hurt her. And I guess that kind of goes for all of us. Your image is going to hurt you. But I just think when people see our live shows, it's a completely different dynamic than what you expect from us in person, on the radio. So,
well, I still think it's weird that several of the guys from August Burns Red play their live shows wearing flip-flops. So I don't think that anyone can dog on you guys too much. Well, what about you, Jake? What's the most un-rock and roll thing about you aside from your inability to get tattooed and hair dye and piercings or whatever else you lack?
I would have to say I'm a big theology nerd, so I read Bible commentaries and stuff like that pretty regularly. Yeah, that would be maybe the biggest thing. Eric,
Daddy loves Raisin Bran.
Oh, there we go.
That's true.
Got to get in that fiber at the beginning of the day. He's just a regular guy.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't say regular. That's kind of stressful.
Thanks, Dad.
No problem. That's what I'm here for.
Oh, man. Well, Eric, you're up to bat, man. What's the most un-rock and roll thing about you?
I really love Disney.
Okay.
So anything Disney, I'm a Disney nerd. There's still times that I might play with action figures and
AKA dolls.
and I'd probably stop there because I don't want to have my reputation as a rocker.
Okay, well let's delve into this Disney thing because I'm a Disney fan as well. But here's the question for you that I think may help us see just a little bit more into your psyche. What is the most underrated Disney animated feature film?
Underrated. Oh man, that is a really good question. I would probably have to go with what's that one mouse movie? The Great Mouse Detective. The Great Mouse Detective.
That is an excellent film.
I'm right there with you, man.
The most underrated.
I love that one. And it's funny because I have a very specific memory for that one. You and I are probably about the same age, give or take. But my brother took me to see that in the theaters, and I loved it. I thought it was like the most awesome movie ever. And then it took 7 or 8 years before it came out on VHS, and I was so heartbroken about it. I'm like, I want to see it again. But it just took forever. So
yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably why it's considered underrated. Is normally, within a year or two they're releasing them, and it takes 7 or 8 years. That's crazy.
Yeah,
I thought nobody wanted to see it.
It was strange, and it was the same thing for a while because for a couple of movies around that time period, because Oliver and Company took forever to come out on video too. And I thought that one was fun. So I don't know. Maybe we just have weird taste, man. I don't know. But yeah, it was strange. Those were the scars that I carry from my childhood that had nothing to do with homeschooling. Oh man. Well, cool, guys. It was great to hang out with you. Now, Les, do you want to stay off the hook, or do you have something on rock and roll to share as well?
I think for me, as far as the overall, the band is our focus on ministry is really something that I think stands out about us. I think, for, places we play at, from festivals to other venues, we've been invited back to some places 3 and going on 4 years this next year. And I think it's because of our focus on ministry and we do things that maybe kind of seem awkward to some, like we're picking up trash. We're helping bands set up and tear down. We're helping the production crews set up and tear down. We're working in prayer tents, things like that. That's something I think that, isn't maybe rock and roll, but it's definitely something that as a Christian artist or as Christians doing rock and roll, I think you have to keep in, that mindset of, realizing that we're there to serve and not to be served.
Right. It's part of what defines you guys in a big way. And I think that's fantastic. I think that especially going on to talk about stuff like helping to set up and tear down things, like a lot of bands don't necessarily do that, but I'm kind of the same way because I, in addition to doing the show, I work at a station, and a lot of times when we do an event, I'll show up and do whatever on-air stuff. I'm so stupid. Then I usually will help, tear down tents and put away stuff and get stuff back into the vans. And I'm like, to me, that's just part of it. But, I know that that's not for everybody, and it may not be that big of a deal, but I totally get it. And it does make a difference, and people tend to notice those things. So good on you guys for doing that. I think that's fantastic.
Appreciate that. That's awesome.
Absolutely. Well, guys, thank you so much for taking the time, especially during your vacation. That's just awesome. So I hope you guys see lots more dolphins out there. And Jake and Eric, I hope you don't get too eat up with jealousy of the fact that they're in Florida and you guys are in Missouri. So I hope that all you guys have collective fun, even though you're apart. And I hope the new music comes out and does really well.
Thank you so much.